Hello and welcome to the final lesson in our Introduction to the I Ching series. In the previous lesson, we looked at and we studied common terms found throughout the I Ching, and we interpreted them for a modern audience. Today, we'll go over the ethics and code of conduct for practitioners consulting the I Ching. Should you choose to use the oracle for yourself or for others, we'll go over guidelines that uphold and respect autonomy and self-improvement. We'll also become informed of red flags and warning signs of abuse of the oracle, keeping a lookout to what those signs are to prevent harm and to maintain good spiritual hygiene. Now that you have the tools to cast a reading and the vocabulary to interpret it, you're ready to begin a journey from hexagram 1 to hexagram 64. However, before you begin to cast for yourself or for others, you need to understand the ethics of inquiry. These practices ensure reverence for the process and protect the free will of everyone involved. When consulting the oracle of the Book of Changes, it's important to keep in mind that internal self-focus and holistic self-improvement should be the goal. The I Ching is a book of wisdom and universal change. It's not a device for predicting external events or how to control other people. A correct inquiry should focus on your attitude, your actions, your perspective in a given situation, such as, what is the wisest course of action for me? Or, what do I need to know in this moment? If you should choose to use your expertise to cast a reading for another person, you're entering a space of profound trust. Any question asked or interpretation given must be held in strict confidentiality. People often turn to the I Ching during times of vulnerability, crisis, or deep transition. As a reader, you're now a steward of their deepest concerns. Treat their inquiries with the same level of respect and privacy as a doctor or a counselor would. What is shared with the oracle should stay with the oracle. Free will is the currency of the oracle. The interpretation must be presented as a metaphorical reflection of the situation or a suggestion for a greater balance or harmony. Nothing should ever be presented to a person as fixed or unchangeable. Everyone retains their own responsibility regarding their decisions, and the I Ching frequently advises that when a situation is headed towards misfortune, it can be changed with a course correction. The wisdom of the I Ching shows tendency, not necessity. It shows patterns and probability, not a fixed destiny or an irreconcilable fate. Anyone using the I Ching needs to understand that they are interpreting a text and should refuse to answer questions that are outside of their expertise or purview regarding medical, financial, or legal matters. Offering ironclad answers to those areas in life with poor or malicious advisory predictions is a great way to get yourself sued into the ground and thrown into prison. Don't be dumb. Abuse of the oracle occurs when the I Ching is weaponized. It's transformed from a tool of wisdom into a tool of control, financial gain, or even malicious influence. Coercive readings are if someone instructs you to take a specific course of action based on the hexagram that was cast, claiming a terrible outcome is assured if you don't obey the will of the oracle, God, the Tao, etc. Ignore them and move along. The I Ching is a wise, neutral perspective that offers advice. Personal judgment, condemnation, or punishment is not what the oracle is for. Instilling fear and dependency is another form of abuse. If a reader interprets a challenging hexagram, like hexagram 47, oppression, or hexagram 29, the abysmal, in a way that's designed to trigger fear, dread, panic, or chronic anxiety, they're likely attempting to create dependency. This is often a lead into upselling. If the reading ends with a suggestion that you're cursed, in spiritual danger, and that their additional services are the only ones that you need, that they have provided rituals or expensive follow-up readings that can fix your problem, walk away. Every hexagram in the I Ching, no matter how difficult it seems, contains a seed of wisdom and a path forward towards greater balance. Oppression is a state of being, not a permanent sentence. If a reading feels like a sales pitch disguised as a catastrophe, it's a scam. It's important for practitioners of the I Ching to be aware that there are some clients that may come to you with unconsenting third-party readings. This is using the oracle to probe the private fate, secret actions, or future of another person without that person's consent. It is a serious ethical violation. Whether it's a prospective love interest, a business competitor, or a personal enemy, attempting to use the I Ching to peek behind the veil of someone else's life to manipulate or control them is a misuse of that wisdom. If you're concerned about another person, the correct inquiry is to ask about your relationship to that person and your reaction to that person's behavior. The I Ching is a mirror for your soul, not a telescope into someone else's bedroom or boardroom. The most common form of abuse of the oracle is financial extortion. If a reader claims that the I Ching has revealed a curse, hex, or grave imbalance that can only be fixed by purchasing expensive items, rituals, or non-refundable spiritual services, walk away. The I Ching is a book of wisdom that requires internal work, not external purchases. You cannot buy your way out of a difficult hexagram. Any imbalance is corrected through your own shift in character, timing, and perspective. If the solution to your misfortune involves a credit card transaction rather than a change in conduct, it's not a legitimate reading. No ritual, candle, or cleansing is as powerful as your own decision to act as a superior person. This is often a mistake of beginning readers of the I Ching. It's the triviality and second-guessing trap. The oracle is a profound tool for navigating life transitions. Treating it like a parlor game or a magical 8-ball creates spiritual noise that will eventually lead to confusing or unresponsive readings. Asking trivial questions insults the depth of this system. If you treat the oracle with superficiality, you'll receive superficial results. Second-guessing the oracle by recasting the same question until you get the yes that you want is a form of self-deception. It's no longer a consultation. It's an attempt to force the universe to agree with your ego, and it will in order to make you go away. Avoid twisting the complex symbolism to fit your current desires. If you only see what you want to see, you're no longer using the oracle as a guide. You're talking to yourself in a room full of mirrors. Garbage in, garbage out. Respect the depth of the tool, and it will provide deep insights. This concludes the final introductory lesson to the Introduction of the Book of Changes series. In our previous lessons, we went over the binary logic of yin and yang, the art of the inquiry and casting, the anatomy of the hexagram, and the vocabulary of the soul and the ethics of the oracle. You have officially completed the foundation. You now understand the binary logic of the universe, the anatomy of change, and the ethical guardrails required to walk this path with integrity. You're no longer just casting coins. You're participating in a 3,000-year-old dialogue with the source code of reality. But a map is only useful if you actually start the journey. In our next series, we move from theory to experience. We will explore the 64 unique states of being that define the human condition, from the highest peaks of creative power to the deepest valleys of introspection. Join me in the next series, Archetypes of the East, a journey through the hexagrams. We'll begin at the very first hexagram, hexagram 1, Heaven, the creative force.